Hello guys, how are you doing today? Welcome back to another episode of Learn English Zone Story Series, where learning meets real-life storytelling. Today's story is called The Missing Wallet, A Lesson in Trust. It's a slow and clear English story, perfect for listening, vocabulary building, and pronunciation practice. Grab your headphones, relax, and enjoy a story that teaches not only English, but something deeper about life. Part 1. The Bus Ride. It was a cloudy Tuesday morning in London. A young woman named Sophie was on her way to work. She stepped onto the number 45 bus, holding her coffee in one hand and her shoulder bag in the other. Sophie had only moved to London 6 months ago. Everything still felt new. The weather, the crowds, the fast pace of life. She worked at a small bookshop in Camden, and though she liked her job, commuting was always a little stressful. That morning, the bus was packed. Sophie squeezed into a small spot near the door and held onto the metal pole. She looked at her watch, 8:17 a.m. She had just enough time to get to work if the traffic wasn't too bad. As the bus moved through the city streets, Sophie pulled out her phone and began reading messages from her sister back home in Manchester. But then, the bus jerked suddenly. Her coffee spilled slightly, and she bumped into the man standing beside her. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she said quickly. The man smiled. "No worries. That was the bus, not you." He was tall, with kind eyes and a calm voice. Sophie nodded, then turned back to her phone. The bus kept moving. Something's missing. 20 minutes later, Sophie reached her stop. She stepped off the bus, waved goodbye to the driver like she always did, and started walking toward the bookshop. She reached into her bag to grab her wallet. But it wasn't there. She stopped walking. She checked again. No wallet. She quickly opened every pocket. Her coat, her jeans, her backpack. Still nothing. Her heart began to race. Her wallet had her ID, her bank card, her work pass, everything. She whispered to herself, "Did I drop it? Did someone take it?" Thinking back, Sophie retraced her steps in her mind. She remembered getting on the bus, standing near the door, drinking her coffee, bumping into the tall man. Wait, did she put her wallet back in her bag after buying the coffee? She wasn't sure. Maybe she had dropped it on the bus. Her hands were shaking now. She couldn't focus. Stay calm, she told herself. Think. Asking for help. She pulled out her phone and called the city bus service. A recorded voice said, "Welcome to London Bus Services. For lost property, press 3. She pressed 3. After 10 minutes on hold, someone answered. "Lost property, how can I help?" "Hi," Sophie said, trying to stay calm. "I think I lost my wallet on the number 45 bus. I got off near Camden Market about 15 minutes ago." The man took her details. Name, time, bus number, where she was sitting. "If someone turns it in," he said, "we'll contact you." That didn't sound very hopeful. Back to work, but distracted. Sophie arrived at the bookshop late and distracted. Her manager noticed immediately. "Everything okay?" Sophie explained the situation. Her manager was kind. "Don't worry. These things happen. Let's hope someone honest finds it." Sophie tried to focus on her tasks, stacking books, helping customers, but all she could think about was her lost wallet. Her stomach felt tight all day. She canceled her bank card. She emailed the bus company again. Nothing. A surprise at closing time. At 5:58 p.m., Just before closing, the shop bell rang. Sophie looked up. It was the man from the bus. Tall, kind eyes, wearing the same navy jacket. "Hi," he said, holding something in his hand. "You dropped this." It was her wallet. Sophie froze. "What? How? You found me?" He smiled. "I saw your work ID inside. Figured I'd try." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea how much this means." He handed it to her. "I didn't even open it. Just wanted to return it to the right person." Part 2. Coffee with a Stranger. The thank you coffee. Sophie couldn't stop smiling. Her wallet was back in her hands, completely untouched. Cards, cash, even the tiny photo of her childhood dog, all still there. She looked up at the man who had returned it, still in disbelief. "Please," she said, "let me at least buy you a coffee. It's the least I can do." The man looked a little shy, but nodded. "Sure, I've got a few minutes." Sophie locked the bookstore door behind her, and they walked together toward a small cafe on the corner. The sky was starting to turn orange, London's slow golden sunset. Proper introductions. They sat by the window. Sophie ordered 2 cappuccinos. When they arrived, she finally asked, "So, what's your name?" "Alex," he said, smiling. "And yours?" "Sophie." They shook hands. It felt oddly formal, yet perfectly right. A simple conversation. They sipped their drinks, and Sophie felt herself relax. The stress of the lost wallet faded, replaced by a warm feeling she couldn't quite name. "So, what do you do, Alex?" she asked. "I'm a paramedic. Night shifts mostly. That's why I was on the bus, heading home after a long one." "Wow," Sophie said. "That's a tough job." Alex nodded. "Some days are hard, but I like helping people." Sophie smiled. "Well, you definitely helped me today." They laughed. For a moment, the world outside the window, the buses, the noise, the rush, disappeared. Time flies. What was meant to be a 5-minute thank you coffee stretched into an hour. They talked about books. Alex liked mysteries. Music. Sophie loved indie rock. Travel. Both had always dreamed of visiting Japan. And funny childhood memories. Sophie couldn't remember the last time she felt so comfortable talking to someone new. There was no pressure, no awkwardness. Just connection. A sudden call. Alex's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then frowned slightly. "Sorry, I have to go. My sister needs a hand with something, but this was really nice." Sophie stood up with him. "It really was. Thank you again for everything." He smiled. "Anytime." As he turned to leave, Sophie hesitated, then called out, "Wait, can I give you my number? Just in case you ever lose something too?" Alex laughed and pulled out his phone. Deal. Alone, but not lonely. After Alex left, Sophie walked home with a strange feeling. She had lost her wallet and found something unexpected in return. Kindness, trust, maybe even the start of something new? She opened her wallet again, just to make sure it was all real. It was, and tucked inside now was a small folded piece of paper. She opened it. In neat handwriting, it read, "Glad it found its way back to you, Alex." Part 3. A message that changes everything. The unexpected text. 2 days passed. Life returned to normal, or tried to. Sophie worked in the bookstore, had tea with her flatmate, and answered emails. But Alex stayed in her thoughts. Every time her phone buzzed, a small part of her hoped it was him. And then, one afternoon, it was. Alex. Hey, Sophie. Hope you're well. Just found a book I think you'd love. Want to meet up sometime? Her heart skipped. She read the message twice. Then a third time. Then she smiled. Sophie, absolutely. You owe me another coffee anyway. The second meeting. They met at the same cafe. This time, Sophie arrived early, something she never did. When Alex walked in, carrying a paper bag, she smiled. What's in the bag? He grinned. A surprise. Open it. Inside was a used copy of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. You mentioned you never read it. It's one of my favorites. Sophie turned the book in her hands. You remembered. I listen, Alex said, simply. Deeper conversations. They stayed longer this time. They talked about deeper things. Family, fears, hopes. Alex shared how he once failed a major exam and thought his career was over. Sophie talked about how lonely moving to London had been at first. There were quiet pauses, not awkward ones, but comfortable silences where no words were needed. Something was growing, slowly, softly, something that felt a lot like trust. An invitation. As they finished their drinks, Alex pulled out his phone again. Hey, my sister's hosting a small dinner this weekend. Just a few friends. Would you want to come? Sophie hesitated. Not because she didn't want to, but because it felt real now. This wasn't just coffee. This was a step into each other's lives. I'd love to, she said, as long as there's dessert. Alex laughed. I'll make sure of it. At home with thoughts. That night, Sophie stood by her bedroom window, looking at the city. Lights, horns, movement. But inside, she felt calm. She thought about how one lost wallet had brought a new chapter into her life. Unexpected, unplanned, but maybe exactly what she needed. She texted Alex, "Thanks again for the book and for being real." He replied quickly, "The real stuff is the only stuff that matters." End. Part 4. The Dinner, the Truth, and the Choice. The Dinner Party. Sophie stood in front of Alex's sister's house, holding a small bottle of wine and a chocolate tart. She was nervous. It wasn't just a dinner. It was a door opening into Alex's world. Alex greeted her at the door, his smile calming her nerves. Inside, the home was warm and full of laughter. People chatted in the living room. Someone played soft music in the background. Alex introduced her to everyone. His sister, Emma, was kind and funny. His friends welcomed Sophie with curious but friendly eyes. For the first time in a long while, Sophie didn't feel like a guest. She felt like she belonged. A quiet moment. After dinner, Alex and Sophie stepped out into the backyard. Fairy lights glowed above them. The air was cool. Sophie took a breath. "You have a beautiful family," she said. "They'll love you," he replied softly. She raised an eyebrow. "Already decided?" "I just know," he said. "Some people come into your life, and you don't want them to leave." Sophie looked at him. His voice was steady, but something was hidden in his eyes. The secret. Alex looked down at the ground. "There's something I haven't told you." Sophie's heart skipped. he continued. "The day I returned your wallet, I was going to keep it." Silence. "I saw the cash inside. I needed it badly. I'd just lost my job. Rent was due. I stood there with your wallet in my hand, and," he took a breath, "but then I saw the photo in it, you and a little girl. I don't know who she was, but something about that picture, it stopped me." Sophie said nothing. "I'm not proud of that moment," he said, "but I think it's important you know. I want to be honest. Always." The response. Sophie took a long breath. "The little girl is my niece. She passed away last year." Now it was Alex who went silent. She smiled softly. "She was the kindest person I knew. Always saw the good in people. I think she'd forgive you." He looked at her, eyes full of gratitude. "So, you're not mad?" She stepped closer. "No, because you made the right choice. That's what matters." A new path. Weeks passed. Sophie and Alex grew closer. Their lives began to intertwine. Weekend trips, shared books, spontaneous walks through the city. They weren't perfect, no one is, but they were real, open, honest, and through trust, something stronger than romance began to grow. A partnership. One last surprise. One morning, Sophie woke up to a note on her door. It was from Alex. "Meet me where it all started." She walked to the same cafe, and there he was, holding a small black box. Not a ring, but inside was a key. "What's this?" "A key to my flat," he said. "I want you to come and go whenever you like, or stay, if you want to." Tears welled in her eyes. "I lost the wallet," she whispered, "and found a life." They hugged, not like in the movies, better, because it was real. Final words. And that's the story of the missing wallet, a lesson in trust. A simple mistake, a small decision, and a reminder that sometimes the wrong path leads us to the right person. In English and in life, the smallest words, gestures, or events can carry the biggest meaning. Thank you for listening to The Missing Wallet, a lesson in trust. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with other English learners. Want more English stories like this? Check out our full playlist for more romantic, real-life, and inspiring tales told in clear English. Keep listening, keep learning, and remember, every story is a step closer to fluency. See you in the next video.